All right. So, how did I meet your dad? That's probably the first place we'll start. None of these stories will probably be any kind of order because I'm kind of, and so I'm trying to remember all these different things. So, let's talk about how I met your dad. So, I was this mid 90s, I think, maybe, because I feel like I was in my early 20s. I might be like 96, 95, 96, 97. I was at the Illinois Institute of Art, not the one in Chicago, but the one out next to Schaumburg Mall, which I'm sure you guys have been to. So I was in school there, and I was the first student to sign up at that school because I kind of knew some of the people that were involved in that school system from Texas. So I was the first person to sign up for school system, and I was heavy, heavy into animation and effects and all those kind of things, just like your dad. So one day I was, and one of the things that I used to do to help them was is I would like do open houses, and I would like talk about animation because they were a traditional art school that got bought out by a school that was going to do animation. So I kind of helped fill that gap because I was totally in the Disney animation. I wanted to be a Disney animator. Didn't happen for me, but it did happen for the other Michael, which was friends of your dad too, that my brother-in-law who works at Pixar. So one day I was sitting in class, and in comes the administrative lady that we knew, and she came and she grabbed me out of class, and I was like, oh, what did I do? And she pulls me out in the hallway and she goes, hey, we really need your help. We've got a young man down in the office and we don't know what he's talking about. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, he's talking about dual processor this and this software and all these things. And we have no idea what he's talking about. I'm like, all right. So I go downstairs, and we had these like little administrative offices where they would get you could come in and sit with people, and they'll talk to you, a little office off the side of the thing. So I open up the door and I walk in, and there's your dad sitting at the table. So I sit down in front of him and go, hey, I'm Mike. He goes, hey, I'm Mike too. And so we start talking. Well, your dad just starts rattling off all the tech he's got. And your dad was in the tech, and he had like this dual core Macintosh computer with this certain software. And I was like, hey, I know about that. So we just sat and talked, and they're just watching this like two uber nerds. Because look, your dad and I would call us cool guys, but we were definitely nerds and definitely geeks. Your dad hit it very well because he rode a motorcycle and had nice hair, but he was a nerd. And so we just sat there and talked. And he goes, you ever played Nintendo? And I'm like, no, I don't got Nintendo. He goes, well, do you want to come to my house? My dad just got back. Your grandpa had gone to like Japan and brought back your dad a gold Nintendo. I think it was an N64. I don't think it was an SNES. I think it was the N64. And that was like huge because they had like a processor in it. And he's like, I got Mario Kart. You want to come over and play Mario Kart? And I said, sure. So we leave. I just met your dad. He invites me. So I drive all the way, find out he only lives like, I think uh, your grandma's house was only like 10 minutes from my house. So we drive all the way back, and we go over to your dad's house, and you remember I don't know if you remember, your dad he had a room upstairs. So we go in there, and we ended up playing like Mario Kart till like, I don't know, like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Here we are. And so when it came into video games, your dad was pretty serious, but I was a big gamer. Now I played mostly PC games like shooters and Doom and Quake and all that kind of stuff, competitive shooters. Now your dad was heavy into like fancy Japanese stuff, where he'd have to order it and the manuals would be in Japanese, and you know can't even understand the manual. So he had like the Neo Geo thing, and I was like, oh my gosh, and he had them all lined up in his. I think he had everything in his closet, and it was all like alphabetized, and he had like everything. So your dad and I sat and played like Mario Kart till like, I don't know, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I just remember going home, and it was probably like it was really late. And I was probably one of the only people that I knew that could give your dad a run for his money. So it was like your dad would win 2 rounds, I would win 2 rounds, he would win one, I would win one, he'd win two, I'd win two, and it was like it was on, and we would play Mario Kart all the time. I don't think anybody could beat us. And I never played it before, so that impressed your dad because he was like, "Well, you've never played before," so he'd get mad and be like, "Oh, let's go again, let's go again." So we were just constantly just going and going and going, and I got really good at it. And so And so that's how I met your dad. I met your dad all because he was talking computer nerd stuff and nobody understood what he was talking about. And that's how I met your dad.